Open your oven door right now. Go ahead, take a look. If what you see in there makes you want to shut it again and pretend you never looked, you are not alone. For most households, the oven is the single most dreaded appliance to clean. That blackened, crusty layer baked onto the floor. And the walls has been building up for months, maybe even longer, and the thought of dealing with it is enough to ruin a weekend before it even starts. But here is what caught my attention. In Korea, the average household oven looks nothing like this. And it is not because Korean families cook less, or because they own better appliances. It is because of an approach to home care that most of the world has simply never been taught. One that turns oven cleaning from a dreaded weekend project into a quiet 2-minute habit, using ingredients already sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. So why does the rest of the world still reach for those bright yellow chemical cans when Korea figured this out a long time ago? Before we get into the actual method, we need to talk about what you are currently spraying inside the box where you cook your family's food. Pick up any commercial oven cleaner at the grocery store and turn it around to read the back label. You will find ingredients like sodium hydroxide and other industrial compounds. The label tells you to wear long rubber gloves. It warns you not to breathe the fumes. It tells you to keep the product away from children and pets. And then we spray this stuff inside the oven where we roast a chicken for Sunday dinner. Think about that for a second. You would not pour paint stripper on your kitchen counter and then chop vegetables on it. Yet somehow, coating the inside of the oven with respiratory irritants became the normal, accepted approach. And the reason it became normal is not an accident. The cleaning industry figured out something clever. If they could convince you that oven cleaning was a horrible, once-a-year nightmare, you would happily pay a premium for the most aggressive solution on the shelf. The harder the job sounds, the more powerful the product needs to seem. Korea took a completely different path. In Korean households, there is a principle called 정리 정돈. It translates loosely to tidying and arranging, but the meaning runs deeper than just putting things away. It is the idea that order is something you maintain in small, constant motions, not something you restore in one giant battle. A space does not get out of control if you never let it get out of control in the first place. There is also something in Korean daily life often described as the pali culture. Pali means quick, quick. It is usually talked about in terms of speed and efficiency, getting things done without delay. But applied to the home, it becomes something useful. You do not let a small mess sit. You handle it now, while it is still small, because you understand that waiting only makes the job bigger. A fresh splatter is a 30-second wipe. The same splatter baked and ignored for 3 months is a chisel and a wasted afternoon. Put those two ideas together, and you get the entire Korean approach to the oven. The maintenance happens constantly and quietly, so the oven never reaches the point where you need to scrape off layers of blackened grease. And the method is almost embarrassingly simple. Every time a Korean home cook finishes using the oven and it cools down to a safe temperature, they take a warm, damp cloth and wipe down the inside surfaces. That is it. 2 minutes with nothing but a warm cloth and a little attention. Just a quick wipe while the residue is still fresh and soft. The grease never gets a chance to harden. The splatters never get the chance to bake into a permanent crust. It is the same principle behind washing a plate right after dinner, instead of letting it sit in the sink for 3 days. Fresh mess wipes away. Old mess fights back. This daily wipe is the foundation of everything. It is the single reason a Korean oven stays clean without any chemical spray ever entering the kitchen. But what about the rest of us, staring at an oven that has not been wiped down in 6 months or a year, or honestly, ever? That is where the deeper methods come in. And every one of them uses something you can find in your kitchen right now. The first and most effective is the baking soda paste. Take half a cup of baking soda and pour it into a small bowl on the counter. Add water 1 tablespoon at a time, stirring between each addition, until you get something that looks like thick toothpaste. You want it spreadable, not runny. If it looks like pancake batter, you have added too much water. If it looks like dry sand, add another tablespoon and keep going. Pull the oven racks out and set them aside. Then, wearing a pair of kitchen gloves, spread the baking soda paste across every inside surface of the oven: the back wall, the side walls, the floor, and the inside of the door glass. Stay away from the heating elements at the top and bottom. As you spread it, the paste will start turning brown wherever it touches grease. That is exactly what you want to see. That color change means the baking soda is already reacting with the grime and starting to break it down. Now close the oven door and walk away. The real work here is done by time. Let the paste sit for a minimum of 8 hours. Overnight is ideal. While you sleep, the mild alkaline baking soda is quietly loosening months of baked-on residue. It works as a gentle abrasive and a chemical neutralizer at the same time, softening hardened grease without scratching the enamel coating that protects the oven walls. When you come back in the morning, take a damp cloth and start wiping. You will be surprised how easily the grime lifts. Layers of black crust that you assumed were permanent will slide off with almost no pressure. For any stubborn spots, use a plastic or silicone scraper, but avoid metal tools that could scratch the enamel. Once you have wiped out as much of the paste as you can, fill a spray bottle with plain white vinegar and spritz the entire inside of the oven, focusing on anywhere you can still see baking soda residue. The moment the vinegar meets the leftover baking soda, it fizzes and foams. That foam is not just for show. It is lifting the last traces of dissolved grease up to the surface where your cloth can collect them. One final wipe with a fresh damp cloth, and the oven looks like it just left the showroom. No fumes, no headache, no chemical residue near your food. The oven racks need a slightly different approach because the paste does not cling well to thin metal bars. Fill a bathtub or a large plastic tub with hot water and add about a cup of baking soda. Lower the racks in completely and let them soak for 4 to 6 hours or overnight. The hot alkaline water softens the baked-on drip marks. When you lift the racks out, take a ball of crumpled aluminum foil and use it as a scrubber. The foil is rough enough to knock off the softened grime, but soft enough that it will not scratch the racks. Rinse them under running water and slide them back into the clean oven. Now there is a lighter method that works beautifully for regular monthly upkeep, and it leaves the whole kitchen smelling fresh. This is the lemon steam method. Take 2 lemons and cut them in half. Squeeze the juice into a deep oven-safe dish, then drop the squeezed halves into the dish as well. Add about 2 cups of water. Slide the dish into the oven, set the temperature to a moderate heat, and let the water come up to a rolling boil. Once steam is filling the oven, turn the heat off and leave the door closed. Let the lemon steam sit and work inside the closed oven for about 30 minutes. The citric acid in the lemon acts as a natural degreaser, and the steam softens any light grease on the walls and ceiling and door. When you open it up, the inside smells like a fresh kitchen instead of burnt grease, and one wipe with a damp microfiber cloth takes everything off. Run this once a month, and you may never need the overnight baking soda treatment again. And here is a quick rescue for the moment. A dish bubbles over and drips onto the oven floor while everything is still hot. Instead of panicking, reach for the table salt. Sprinkle a generous layer of salt directly onto the fresh spill. The salt absorbs the grease and moisture almost immediately and forms a dry crust over the mess. Once the oven cools, that salt crust lifts right off with a spatula. 60 seconds. No scrubbing, no stain. the problem never gets the chance to become permanent. That is the PPLI instinct in action. Handle it now while it is still small. Now let us talk about the elephant in the kitchen. The self-cleaning cycle. A lot of modern ovens advertise this feature, and on paper it sounds perfect. Press a button, walk away, come back to a clean oven. But the reality is very different. Self-cleaning cycles work by cranking the oven up to an extreme temperature, essentially incinerating everything inside. The door locks for safety, and the cycle can run for around 3 hours. During those hours, the kitchen fills with smoke and a sharp, acrid smell from burning food residue. Smoke alarms go off. The house smells terrible for the rest of the day. And here is the part most people do not find out until it is too late. That extreme heat is hard on the oven itself. Appliance repair technicians widely report a spike in service calls right after someone runs a self-cleaning cycle. The intense temperatures can stress thermal fuses, door latch mechanisms, and control boards. You can quite literally bake your oven toward an early breakdown while trying to clean it. The Korean approach skips all of it. No extreme heat, no smoke, no fumes drifting into the living room, no risk to the components. Just simple ingredients applied with a little consistency. So let us put the whole thing together into a routine that takes almost no time at all. After every use, while the oven is still warm but cool enough to touch safely, do the 2-minute wipe. A warm, damp cloth across the inside surfaces. That is the daily habit, and it is the most important one. Once a week, fill a spray bottle with equal parts water and white vinegar. Spray the walls, the floor, and the door glass. Let it sit for 5 minutes, then wipe it down. That weekly spray stops grease from ever getting a foothold. Once a month, run the lemon steam treatment. 2 lemons, a dish of water, a short burst of heat, 30 minutes of steam, 1 wipe, done. Follow that daily and weekly rhythm, and you may genuinely never need the overnight baking soda paste again. And if you skip a few weeks and notice buildup starting to form, the baking soda paste is sitting there as your deep cleaning safety net. Nothing is ever truly out of control because you never let it get that far. Here's what this routine actually costs. A box of baking soda runs about $1 and lasts for months of cleaning. A large bottle of white vinegar is around $2. A bag of lemons is a few dollars and covers several months of steam treatments. Compare that to commercial oven sprays, which cost roughly $8 to $15 per can, get used up quickly, and leave chemical residue inside the appliance where you cook. A household that switches from chemical cleaners to this approach can save somewhere between $50 and $80 a year. Not a fortune, but enough to notice. And the real return is not the money. It is knowing there are no chemical residues near your food, and that the space around your children and your pets is clean in a way you do not have to think twice about. The deeper lesson here is not really about baking soda or vinegar or lemons. It is about the relationship between small daily habits and big results. The Korean principle of 정리정돈 is not about scrubbing harder. It is about wiping sooner. It is the understanding that the easiest mess to clean is the one that never had the chance to set in the first place. You do not wait for the oven to become a disaster and then declare war on it once a year. You spend 2 minutes today, and the disaster simply never arrives. Apply that to your oven, then to your kitchen, then to your whole home, and something shifts. The oven stops being a source of guilt sitting in the corner of the kitchen. It does not need a hazmat-level intervention every spring. It just needs a little attention, paid often, with ingredients you already own. If this changed the way you think about cleaning your kitchen, subscribe.